What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is the Bold Call Fantasy Football Podcast. And today we're taking a look at the top 10 wide receivers for fantasy in 2022. All right, I'm back with Flex, Shane, and we are taking a look at the top 10 fantasy wide receivers for 2022. These are our rankings. And Shane, it's a really interesting year for the wide receiver position because I feel like it's extremely top heavy and the drop off is fast and furious. I've found in a lot of drafts that I've done already, and I don't know what you're thinking, but I really like the top 10 and not in love with the 10 through 20 group. I think it's a little sketch. What do you think?
Look, if you want like that elite level upside, you got to get one of these early guys, right? Honestly, when you look at wide receiver like 10 to your point, like 20 or even 25, at any given point, one of these guys could break out, right? Like Keenan Allen is going in early third round. Arguably, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, like these guys who were drafted almost 2 rounds later could have the same upside as a player like Keenan Allen, even Mike Williams. So you're right. It's kind of a giant tier. I mean, we our job is to kind of nuance these things, right, Kevin? So we go and we look at these different players and, okay, this guy's got this guy player, this guy, like T. Higgins is amazing, but he's playing with Jamar Chase. So what are we going to do with that, right? So it's kind of our job to nuance it, but you're right. I mean, once you kind of get through these first, honestly, 7 or 8 wide receivers, just like roll the dice, man. Any one of these guys could break out.
There are a couple of warts. Like, there are reasons for the rankings, but even names like DJ Moore, who's he's going to be outside of the top 10. Baker Mayfield's now on the Panthers. That's breaking news. And great. I mean, all right. Am I fully confident that DJ Moore is going to be a stud? No, but I think Mayfield helps. But you're talking about other names like Deontay Johnson, questionable quarterback situation there. Terry McLaurin, also questionable quarterback situation. Jalen Waddle splitting touches with Tyree Kill. That seems a little sketchy. So that second group really, Jerry Jeudy, is he going to be a thing? We've never seen him do it. We kind of think he will be because it's Russ. There's a lot of Elijah Moore, again, Jets wide receiver. Never feel confident in one of those. So that second group, just the general overall strategy for me this year, because I love the running backs in the 10 through 21 range of the running back position. It's really good if you can to try to focus on getting a couple of the top 10 or even the top 5 wide receivers on your team if you can. So let's get right into it and start at the very top with the number 1 player on the board. And for me, this is the number 1 fantasy football player, period, end of sentence, above all the running backs and even above Jonathan Taylor. And that's Cooper Kupp. Last year, Cooper Kupp averaged over 28 DraftKings fantasy points per game. And I say DraftKings because PPR format with bonuses and whatnot. That average beats just about any running back ever. So he had historically one of the greatest fantasy football seasons we've ever seen from any player, and nothing's changed for him. I love Cooper Kupp this year, Shane.
Look, we've talked about him a lot in his show just because he's a special kind of player. They brought in Allen Robinson this year, but between you and me, I'm not in on Allen Robinson hype. I think he'll be fine. I think he's being overdrafted. Cooper Kupp's the man, man. Like, he's got such good rapport with Matthew Stafford, and it's not just on the field. Their families hang out together. They've got, I think, kids that are the same age. The wives get along. Like, Kevin, like, you've got these friend groups, right? And the people that you get to see the most often are the people whose families get along with your family. It's no different. It's like there's a people element to it, right? And so when in doubt, Coop is going to be the man. He's going to be Matthew Stafford's number 1 target, and he's going to ball the hell out again. 25 points a week, 28 points for DraftKings. Might be asking a lot. 21 points a week. I don't think that's out of the realm.
I think we average above 21 points a week. I think for the season, you will get right back to that 24, 25. I don't think anything's changed. Well, one thing I will say, both Stafford and Cooper Kupp have this in common. Their wives are fucking smoke shows. Super hot. I get why they all hang out with one another. Like,
there you go.
It's like going, those two, a barbecue with that. It's like going to an Instagram model convention with their smoke show wives. So
man. These football players,
I get why they hang out. NFL membership has its privileges. All right, second up. This is easy. This one's easy. And the biggest question for me with WR2, Matthew Stafford's wife.
I gotta Google this. I don't even know. I gotta Google this.
So number 2 overall is Justin Jefferson, and this is consensus stuff, right? This is not a bold call. Everybody knows this. The Vikings are talking about shifting from the run-heavy approach that they've used in recent years to more of a pass-heavy approach. It's all the talk of the camp. The guy who stands to benefit the most is Justin Jefferson. He's already been a 10-plus targets per game guy. The reason, so Shane, there's a little bit of controversy. I don't know. Okay, I'm looking at your rankings and yours agree with mine. A little bit of controversy. Some people are saying Jamar Chase should be number 2 overall. There are people who have Jamar Chase ranked as high as number 1 overall. So I disagree. I'm going to give you my reason why I don't agree. And essentially, it's something you mentioned before, which is Jamar Chase is fighting with T. Higgins. He's fighting with Tyler Boyd a little bit. And he's on a team that does want to run the football when they can. The Bengals will shift to more pass heavy. So, but when they need to, but when they can, they want to run the football primarily. And the target floor for Justin Jefferson for me is just a little bit higher. I just think he's more of an 8 to 10 targets per game guy, where Chase, you'll get those 5 to 7 target type of games mixed in. Both of them will spike, 10 plus on occasion. But I think Justin Jefferson just has the higher target floor and gets more targets overall this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why I have Justin Jefferson ranked over Jamar Chase. From a pure talent perspective, I mean, they played together. We know Jamar Chase was the alpha, right? We get it. The problem is T. Higgins is an alpha too. But to your point, like Justin Jefferson last year averaged almost 10 targets a game, whereas Jamar Chase was about 7.5 targets per game, right? Now, obviously, Chase is hyper efficient. The issue is plug and play. I mean, you're going to plug and play both these guys, but Justin Jefferson, you just know he's going to be pretty consistent every single week, whereas Jamar Chase is going to have a down week because maybe T. Higgins goes off that week, right? There's only one football to go around. I think what's interesting too, about Justin Jefferson, you mentioned Kirk Cousins. So Kevin O'Connell, who's our new head coach, he has experience with Kirk Cousins. And I think he's a little bit more confident in Kirk's just ability to lead the offense. I mean, Dalvin Cook is getting a little bit older. He's still a stud, but he has battled injuries. So how do you prevent those injuries? Maybe play a little bit more Alexander Madison. Maybe, just maybe, trust Kirk Cousins to do his job. And listen, Adam Thielen, he's amazing. For an undrafted free agent, he's had an amazing career. I think he's 31 years old. He's coming off a bad leg injury, and he's going to be very touchdown dependent, right? The guy, tried and true, every single drive is going to be Justin Jefferson. So you talk about the volume from a talent perspective. I do give the edge to Jamar Chase, but it's not a popularity contest. We're playing fantasy football, and Justin Jefferson is going to score the most fantasy points this year.
Totally agree. So, that basically covers Jamar Chase, who I have as the WR3, and we both agree there. This is the teardrop point for me. So, tier 1, I could really call it just Cooper Kupp. He's his own tier, but really these 3 guys are tier 1 wide receivers this season for me. And this is a point where once Jamar Chase comes off the board, I am considering some of the running backs. I'm looking at, Najee Harris. I'm looking at Swift. I'm looking at, Derrick Henry and pretty much definitely Christian McCaffrey here. So the running back group is, I would at this point start grabbing running backs. And then next on the list, so once sort of the elite tier of running back, for me, it's ahead of Joe Mixon and some of these other guys like that are kind of a little bit lower on my running back rankings, which you can check out. Just link in the description below. And of course, next up for me, and this is where I kind of go off a little bit differently than you and maybe a little off consensus. I've got Devonte Adams as my WR4. And I'm gonna make a case for him. Now, no one likes a wide receiver on a new team. It's scary. We've never seen him. What if he's just a product of Aaron Rodgers? And in fairness, Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams had a historically great connection. It's like they were one mind. But here's the thing: when a stud, this is my reasoning. When a stud wide receiver goes to a new team, that team wants to feed him. Like they want to feed the beast. They just paid You think the Raiders are going to feed Hunter Renfro 11 targets a game when Devonte Adams is on the team? They're not. Trust me, they're not. You know what? Who they're going to feed? They're going to feed Devonte. They want their superstar happy. They paid him. I expect Devonte Adams to get 10 plus targets every week, to average 10 plus targets. I think he'll be just fine with Derek Carr. We've seen Derek Carr focus in on one player. We've seen games where Waller, the tight end, has seen 15 plus targets in a single game. I think that's going to be Devonte Adams this year, and everybody's sleeping on him. I think his ADP has him as maybe WR 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's right in that range.
Maybe 6, I think. Yeah,
it definitely varies. It's varying, but I mean, right now he's wide receiver 5 on Underdog. That's where he's being drafted.
Okay, so
right at the 1-2 turn at 11.
There we go. So you will get him because I've got him ranked 2 WR spots ahead of his current ranking. I've got him above some of these next few guys. But Shane, what's your take on Devonte Adams, and how do you feel about him at number 4 overall?
Yeah, so I'm not too far off from you. I have him at number 6. Obviously, Underdog's number 5. So we're kind of in that ballpark. At this stage in the draft, these positions do really make a difference, right? There's a lot of impact between even 2 or 3 draft spots, but the case for Devonte Adams, I think you made pretty well, right? I mean, we've seen what he's able to do. The issue becomes touchdown efficiency. When they're on the 2-yard line, are they really going to give Devonte Adams the ball? Like, is it going to be going to Devonte Adams? Like they didn't want to run the ball, right? Aaron Rodgers wanted to throw that ball to Devonte Adams. I'm not 100% confident that that's going to be their plan going in Las Vegas. In addition to this, look, excuse me, I don't think Hunter Renfro is going to disappear. Okay. And for one of the reasons we like Deontay Johnson, even this year with whether it's Mitchell Trubisky or the rookie Kenny Pickett, is the fact that he could get open. Hunter Renfro last year, on average, had over 2 yards of separation when he was targeted. Okay. That means the man knows how to get open. He's got the built-in history. He's got the built-in chemistry with Derek Carr. Obviously, Devonte Adams played college ball with Derek Carr, but that's a long-ass time ago, man. So I believe that Devonte Adams is going to pay off. He's going to finish as probably a top 10 wide receiver. I just worry that he might not get the 170, 180 targets per year that we're used to. 140 is going to be nice. 150 is going to be nice, but it's not going to push him to that elite tier where wide receiver 1 is in his range of outcomes. Whereas the guys we've talked about so far, that is in the range of outcomes. And so that's for me, one of the reasons I'm a little bit lower. Yeah.
The only reason Devonte is behind a Chase, for example, understand if Devonte Adams was still with Aaron Rodgers, we'd have to have a discussion with him as number 1 overall over Cooper Kupp. So this is a drop for him. And the only reason he's not above Chase and Jefferson, I love those guys. But beyond that, he's with a new team. We haven't seen him yet. So I don't want to automatically assume that he's going to be as productive as he was. But like I said, for me, he's one of the highest floor wide receivers, period. He's got a higher floor than the next few that we're going to be talking about. He's got, I don't believe, like I said, that Hunter Renfro is actually competition for him. I think it's fine. Hunter Renfro plays the Randall Cobb role. Okay, great. Like that didn't hurt Devonte Adams with the Packers. The Raiders lack wide receiver options. They don't have a lot of guys that are good. Again, Hunter Renfro plays a very specific kind of a role. I was warning everybody early season, beware of Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro is being drafted way too high. Only suckers are really drafting him. Let them do it. I'm happy. I love it. I love it when he gets taken. I love it. I love it. Why? Because he's basically Jacoby Myers 5 rounds earlier. No thanks. I say Hunter Renfro and Jacoby Myers have the same season this year. Take Jacoby Myers 6 rounds later.
Same season. I mean, look, the difference between those two guys was Hunter scored 9 touchdowns last year.
He's Myers not scoring touchdowns this year. He ain't scoring shit.
Yeah, no, it's going to go to Adams. I mean, obviously, Darren Waller's still there when he's healthy. Darren Waller's an absolute beast. I mean, he really does change the game when he's healthy and on the field. I'm bullish about this offense, man. I mean, we already did a quarterback show. Go back and listen. But Derek Carr is going to be very good this year because there's so many good choices and so many good options. So
I didn't know he played with Devonte Adams. I didn't realize they played together in college. Like I did not have that knowledge.
Oh, okay. So that was one of the things, right?
You
It's
informed me on something that I didn't even know.
yeah. Oh, there you go. So
I
yeah,
don't know.
so they played in college together, and
It makes me
I want
like
to
it
say
more.
Fresno's, yeah, which is a good thing, right? I mean, they've been buddies. Apparently, they've been in contact forever, and it's one of the reasons that he wanted to go there. I mean, apparently, it was one of his lifelong dreams to play for the Raiders as well. So there's a few different pulls to Las Vegas. I mean, it would also be kind of cool to live in Las Vegas, to be
Yeah,
a
but he
celebrity.
shafted
And
Rodgers. He shafted
oh my
Rodgers with
god,
that. Rodgers was like, "What? Wait, what? Who's my wide receiver one now?
what I think is just hilarious, right? So
It's
do you
Lazard?"
remember? Was it Devonte Adams who put out the tweet with the Last Dance last year? Do you remember
No,
that? It
I don't
was it
remember. I don't
Aaron?
know. I
You
don't
remember that?
know.
Oh,
I don't
okay, okay.
recall.
So I think it was Devonte Adams when as the season was kind of coming to an end. He put out a tweet about just kind of a picture of like the Last Dance, like with Jordan, Pippen, the Bulls. And I think that he figured it's because Aaron's going to be gone next year, right? Little did we know it was actually going to be Devonte. So who
Yeah,
knows?
we all thought it.
Kind of
Yeah, we all
funny.
thought it was
Yeah,
Aaron, as you said. Interesting. All right,
yeah.
let's keep moving on. Again, another bold call coming at you, Shane.
Oh,
It's hard to get bold calls in a top 10. Like it's the same guys, but I do have my. I have it a little different.
mm-hmm.
What do? I win fantasy football league. Sorry, what do you want? That's how we do it. So my number 5 player on the board, Tyree Kill, the Reek. Now, everybody, again, we are going with our second wide receiver on a new team. And the reason that I love Tyreek Hill, not like love, is people they're going to feed him more target. The biggest problem that he had in Kansas City was target floor. Although last year, and he's been great. Last year, that target floor went up, and we really saw what 10 targets per game for Tyreek Hill can do, right? The guy is explosive. He's incredible on the deep ball. And oh, by the way, who's not bad at the deep ball? Tua. It's actually one of his better capabilities. Like he's not bad. His deep ball accuracy is not terrible.
But he had like 2 deep ball attempts last year. Like it was so here's a fun fact, right? And to your point, to validate it. So Kyler Murray had a 50% deep ball rate. We talked about how he was number 1 in the league. Tua actually also had a 50% deep ball rate. The problem is it was on like 2 or 3 attempts. So or maybe 4 attempts.
You're telling me I can't manipulate statistics to favor my argument?
No, absolutely not. That's literally our job.
The other thing is, by the way, that Tyreek, he's not just a deep ball specialist. He can take. He's great at taking a short pass, and his yak ability is like no other. But the main reason that I love Tyreek Hill, because you put the ball in his hands, he's electric. The Dolphins are going to put the ball in his hands. They didn't pay for Tyreek Hill to not play him. We saw what Jalen Waddle did when he was a focal point, getting 11, 12, 13 targets a game. He was absolutely smashing in that offense. A lot of short passing work, but he smashed from a fantasy perspective. I think we're going to see the same thing from Tyreek Hill. When you bring in a stud, you have to feed him, especially in the first year. We saw it with Stefan Diggs in his first year with Buffalo as well. Teams feed the stud. They want the guy happy, right? So they're feeding the stud. That first year, I think they make a conscious effort to actually pepper Tyreek Hill with lots of targets, keep the player happy, and take advantage of the money that they spent. So for all those reasons, I have him ahead of Stefan Diggs, who is not a 10 targets per game guy, period. Did not see anywhere near 10 targets per game last season on a team with way more weapons. The Dolphins only have Waddle and Tyreek. There's really Nagasaki. There's not much else going on for them. There's no really WR3 to take targets. They don't really throw to the running backs all that much. So it's really going to be a lot of him. And I think we're going to see 10 plus targets a game. And that's what I want. I want guys with high target floors.
Tyree Kill is, in my opinion, one of the toughest guys to rank. And if you take a step back and you think, okay, who's going to be hurting more this year in Miami? Is it going to be Tyree Kill? Is it going to be Jalen Waddle? I tend to agree with you. I think that Waddle is going to be the player that's going to get the most hurt by this, because here's the thing. So Jalen Waddle, what he was kind of known for in college was his ability to get space and the deep ball, right? He was quick as all hell, right? Whereas, we've talked about it before, his average depth of target was quite a bit lower last year than you would expect, and that was working really just easy pass, easy completions for Tua. This year, I agree that I think Tyree Kill is going to be the one that's going to step in and get those short passes, and we know that he can break one loose at any given time, right? So I think that Jalen Waddle is going to really hurt. The one thing that kind of worries me a little bit is, one of the concerns with wide receivers going to new teams is that it simply takes time for chemistry to be built, right? We've seen it a lot over the years where an elite wide receiver goes and he has a down season for that first year, right? Stefan Diggs kind of bucked that trend because he had immediate chemistry with Josh Allen, right? So now we've got two elite wide receivers who, for all intents and purposes from a skill level, are in the same tier.
Throw in DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray when that trade happened.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. Yes, exactly.
There's a lot more evidence that teams want to feed the new stud. I'll throw in Odell Beckham last year with the Rams. We see what teams do. They want to involve the new guy. They don't want his mind wandering. They don't want him regretting it. Wide receivers are divas. You want to keep them happy. And so I think they make this conscious effort in the first year. But notice what happened with DeAndre Hopkins in year 2 and what happened with Stefan Diggs in year 2. When the team's like, all right, he's settled in, now let's do what we do, all of a sudden, both of their productivities came down a little bit. That's what I'm hoping for in year 1 from both Adams and Tyree Kill. I think there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah, no, there definitely is. I mean, Stefan Diggs last year, he actually had more receiving touchdowns, but it was just the receptions. He had 103 receptions last year versus 127 year before. And to your point,
it was an extra game. Let's not forget they added a game.
That's true. Yeah.
So you got the extra game. Comparing stats. You got to understand they played an extra game.
That's true. I mean, on a per game basis, though, he did get 9.6 targets per game. So he still got fed because the Buffalo Bills love to throw the damn ball. You had a really interesting tweet today, and I've been on that bandwagon since day damn one. So go check it out at FF Geek.
At Football Geek. At Football Geek. It was almost more in jest than not, just to stir up a little shit on Twitter.
I like it.
But I did throw out that Jamison Crowder will outscore Gabriel Davis in PPR formats this year. Gabriel Davis is just such a hype machine. I had him on my team last year. I drafted him as a rookie in a league we're in together, actually, although I've traded him away since then. And I highly recommend trading him away at peak value right now. You'll never get in better value for Gabriel. I like Davis, but the 4 touchdown game, it was just madness. Could he ever do it again? Sure. But there's a lot of.
I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but there's this video that keeps going out there where he made one of the DBs on Kansas City fall down. For one thing, Kansas City had one of the worst DV cores in the league last year. Okay, the dude was crisscross sideways, and Gabriel Davis made a move outside, and then he turned to come inside to catch the ball, and the guy fell down. It's that wasn't a good move. That was just a bad defense by the Kansas City DB.
Still a bad.
But that's beside. That's aside.
No, it's not ass. I think Gabriel Davis is fine. I drafted him. He's fine. But when you take a guy in where you're taking him, having a guy just fine is too dangerous. You've got to be sure, and it's possible he just falls back into a WR2/3 kind of a role. There's so many weapons. This is the problem with Stefan Diggs, who is not next on my list. So whatever, but he's quite up there on your list right here.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the problems with Stefan Diggs is they have a lot of weapons. If you love Gabriel Davis and you kind of don't hate Jamison Crowder, and oh my God, Dawson Knox is good. And oh, by the way, they added a pass catching running back who is going to take targets away from all these guys with James Cook. Then there's just not enough. And I think Stefan Diggs comes down in targets off the 9.6. I think it comes down. I think it further comes down this year. I love him. He's a yeoman-like player, but my WR6 is CD Lamb. Now, the reason I went with CD Lamb above Stefan Diggs, who I have at 7, is opportunity. Unlike Diggs, Lamb has almost no competition on his team for targets, especially early in the season when Michael Gallup is going to still be rehabbing his ACL. You've got CD Lamb, you've got Dalton Schultz, who, fine, he's a tight end who can catch some passes. And then you have a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. Nothing really competitive to take away targets from CeeDee Lamb. I love Dak as a quarterback. I love the Dallas offense in general. So give me CeeDee Lamb. His issues in the past have been volume related. When you throw him the ball, he catches it, he runs with it, he does everything you want. The volume should be there this year for me. So I've got CeeDee Lamb at number 6 overall, still ahead of Stefan Diggs.
Yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb too. I have him at number 5, and I think Michael Gallup was great when he was healthy last year. I think he's going to miss a good part of the early season. I mean, he might even be put on the PUP list. They drafted Jalen Tolbert, but he's a rookie. I mean, he's going to do well. He was a senior. He was at the Senior Bowl, but he was playing in a small school, right? So there's going to be a learning curve in the NFL. Dalton Schultz is fine. I know you're not big on Tony Pollard, but I think Tony Pollard is going to get a little more. You're going to see a lot of 2 running back sets, but man, CeeDee Lamb is going to get absolutely peppered. Like, he's just going to get peppered with targets this year. Dak Prescott's another year after the ankle injury, the catastrophic ankle injury. I'm shocked he even came back, to be honest. You remember last year in the offseason, Dak also had a sore shoulder, right? He wasn't throwing.
Yeah, no, he had issues. They weren't sure. They were not sure. Yeah, he's going to be healed up now.
So for all intents and purposes, he's healed. Excuse me. CeeDee Lamb is going to step in, 3rd year in the league. And listen, last year was, I think we consensus believe, like, last year was a bit of a down year for CD versus our expectations. Still a very good year. This is the season. They would not have traded away Amari Cooper for a meager $20 million salary if they didn't believe that CeeDee Lamb could step up. So the guy that I've always kind of called CeeDee Lamb to, in his playing style, just the way that he looks to me, has always been a DeAndre Hopkins. And I think that is in his range of outcomes. Peak DeAndre Hopkins. Now, will he get there this year? I don't know, but I'm pretty damn confident. If I'm on the turn and I want to, maybe fade running back, I love going Devonte Adams and CeeDee Lamb at the turn. Like that, you want to talk about just feeling good about your start of the draft. Drafting those 2 guys at the turn is it's a beautiful thing, man.
I absolutely love it. And again, everybody on this list so far, these are guys you got to get when you're drafting in 2022. You've got to get, if you can get 2 of them on your team, that on the turn. This is the reason why picking late is actually really, really good in 2022. You can nail 2 of these guys. And I'd be very excited to get Lamb and Devonte at the turn. Again, you kind of feel bad. You're like, oh shit, what am I going to do at running back? But then you notice when you get back to the next running back spot, because you're going to take a wide receiver, there's a lot of them available. Lots of good ones still on the board in rounds 3, at the end of round 3, beginning of round 4. Dave Montgomery's there. J.K. Dobbins. Sometimes Travis Etienne is there. There are really, really good running backs still hanging out. James Conner might be hanging around at that point. Zeke, the aforementioned, is there and readily available if you want to. Cam Akers is around. So there's such a great reason. I love that strategy. Double tap, wide receiver, bam, bam. Either pick 11-2, 12-1, doesn't matter. Love it. Absolutely love it. CeeDee Lamb's going to smash this year. I have no doubt. I think he's a can't-fail player. He could be the number 1. Like he of this group, he has the. I don't know. Nobody's passing Cooper Kupp, but if somebody could do it, it could be CeeDee Lamb. He is in the conversation, and he has as much upside as Chase, Jefferson, Adams, anybody else. CeeDee Lamb can be the top overall.
So here's the argument to the case. So Cooper Kupp at the top, consistency, right? Justin Jefferson, consistency. Jamar Chase, consistency, but there's T. Higgins. Devonte Adams, new team. There are some competent pass catchers around him. Tyree Kill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, right? There's always like all these question marks. CeeDee Lamb, consistent, is getting better every single season, continues to become a pro, very little target competition.
Look how good Amon-Ra did when they threw to him 14 times a game, and he's not the talent that CeeDee Lamb is. So,
ladies and gentlemen, no.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I love CeeDee Lamb. You rub your hands together and say, excellent, Mr. Burns style, when you finish drafting. Yeah, excellent. Right? Just so sure you're very happy with that.
Lotion, Kev. Just use
no
lotion.
No. Excellent. All right. So CeeDee Lamb now at wide receiver 7 for me. This is where Stefan Diggs comes on the board. Stefan Diggs, and I'm going to, again, everybody has Stefan Diggs multiple spots higher. So for me personally, I will not wind up with any Stefan Diggs because he goes in drafts before I'd be ready to take him. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb ahead of him. That means I'm not getting him. I'm taking Adams and Tyree Kill ahead of him. That means I'm definitely not getting him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still like Stefan Diggs, but as a DFS player, I can tell you that last year, there was not a single game, maybe one game all of last season, and I'm not even sure that was the case, where Stefan Diggs essentially returned value, tournament winning value against his salary. Now, what that means is even if he had consistency, sure, but he was, let's say, at some point priced the same or higher than a CeeDee Lamb. He was priced closer to the Tyree Kill zone a lot of the season, or some of these studs, right? There was not one week all of last year, like if you paired him. So what we do in DFS, of course, is we pair the quarterback with the wide receiver. The Josh Allen, Stefan Diggs pairing did not take down a tournament the whole year because the upside is just not what it is for some of these other wide receivers. He didn't produce the 40-point games. He certainly didn't do it multiple times. He didn't really even produce the 30-plus point games. If he hit 30 once or twice, max the season, I'm not even sure how many times he hit it once. I love that you have the stats open in front of you because I'm talking from memory on this.
That's okay.
But he only hit it once.
Yeah. The thing is,
more than that.
Yeah, he was hyper consistent throughout the entire season. He busted. When I say busted, under 10 points, I consider a bust. He busted twice, not including the playoffs. But he had like a 10.2 week. So there were weeks that were not great. The thing about Stefan Diggs is he's generally speaking pretty steady Eddie, right? He won't have those massive games, but he also generally won't give you a dud game. Like he's always going to be part of the offense. Actually, his worst game of the season was against Kansas City. So there you go, in the playoffs.
By the way, you're loading up on him in DFS and you got burned. But you see what I'm saying? This is my reasoning. Now, does that mean he can't have monster games this year? No, of course not. We don't know what's going to happen. But when I'm comparing him to CeeDee Lamb, who I think definitely will have those explosive games, and Tyree Kill, this is why Diggs, again, I differ from pretty much, certainly with you, but consensus ADP significantly on Diggs. It's for this reason. I think he's yeoman-like. He's going to be consistent, but he kind of last year gave us a whole season showing you that when the Bills have multiple weapons, they are not going to just throw it to one guy 16 times. Yeah, I've seen Justin Jefferson get 16 targets in a game. Jamar Chase will spike to that level. Certainly Devonta Adams will spike, and certainly Cooper Kupp kind of averages that. So he's just below those guys. For me, I get that he plays with Allen. I love the Buffalo Bills offense. It's great. The best, greatest offense in the league, whatever. He's just...
Yeah, no, you're making a compelling case. I will be honest, making a compelling case. I was just looking at his 2020 stats, and he had a 40-point game. He had a couple in the 30s. He had a bunch of high 20s. I mean, he finished as over 20 points per game.
2020 was amazing.
Which is 2020, yeah. But to your point,
but again, first year player, new team, they feed the player targets, keep him happy. Year 2 settles into the normal offense. Now, how many targets per game last year? So he goes from 12, 13 targets per game down to under 10 targets per game. Now this year, more weapons are there. Gabriel Davis emerges as a real weapon. You know who they had there? John Brown. Like they had garbage in that spot. So now, or a young Gabriel Davis before he had come around to being a good player. So more weapons. Jamison Crowder there to suck up some targets. James Cook. The breakout of Dawson Knox is relevant. He was dog shit 2 years ago. He was not an afterthought for most of last year up until the last few games. Now but he became a weapon. More targets not going to Diggs. But
I just remember in Dynasty Startups last year, people were drafting Dawson Knox. I'm like, I love Knox. Love him. He's a great player, great tight end in the NFL. He's not great for fantasy football. And then he actually had a pretty damn good fantasy football season.
He came on
He's
strong.
Probably a good one.
He's a guy, he came on strong last year. We'll talk about him on the tight end breakdown, but he came on strong at the end, and we'll see if he repeats it. There's always these guys that pop at the tight end position, and then you never hear from them again. Robert Tunyons, you always hear these guys, Austin Hooper, Like
Ugh.
they popped one year and then they're gone. That happens at
Yeah.
tight end. Dalton Schultz, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So Stefan Diggs, number 7 overall. All right. Moving on to number 8. I love this player this year.
So do I, man.
We agree. Yeah, we're in agreement on this one. So that I like that. I like that. Kind of. I got Tyree Kill above.
Yeah, I mean we're basically
Mike Evans, wide receiver, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, back together again with Tom Brady. No Gronk. Where Gronk? Gronk is partying on the Gronk Brothers party bus, showing up at a stadium near your $10,000 appearance fee. I can get the Gronk Brothers to my kid's bar mitzvah if I need $10,000 appearance fee.
Did you know? You joke about that, but like they legit had a party cruise ship. It was like come and party with the Gronkowski brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. If I could have afforded that and made the trip out, I would have loved to go to that.
The problem was Rob. Unless Rob is with the crew, a lot of times the Gronk brothers show up. It ain't Rob Gronk. It's the rest of them.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to hang with the rest of it. I'll hang with the rest if the king Rob
big dogs there. Yeah,
the big dogs there. Give me some Mike Evans here. Tom Brady needs someone to throw to. There's no one else to throw to on the Russell Gage. Plays a completely different role. Cameron Brate, that's the guy. Godwin's going to be out probably for the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season. We're just going to see monster. I expect we'll see monster games from Evans for that period. And then here's the good part. Then let's say Godwin comes back, but they're working him back into the offense slowly. Couple weeks. Oh, little setback. Oh, a little bit of knee swelling. Take him out for another week or two. So all of these things lead to, we're thinking 3, 4, 5. We could get Mike Evans with no one else to throw to for 8 or 9 games this year. And that's enough. And even when Godwin is back, there's still no Gronk. The fact people forgetting Gronk and Evans were the 2 red zone targets for Tom fucking Brady, who's going to throw for 40 plus touchdowns this year. Who is getting those touchdowns if it's not Mike Evans? Who?
You can pretty much set your watch to 1,000 yards every single season, even when there is a Chris Godwin on the field. Okay,
and a Gronk.
I agree with you. It ain't going to be Cameron Brate. It ain't going to be Cade Otten.
Good knowledge of rookies. Fucking Flex Shane busting out with Cade Otten.
That's what we
Love
do,
it.
man.
Just picked him in a dynasty startup in round 5. Dynasty rookie draft, round 5.
Problem is our super fan Clipboard Jesus is like the Cade Otten fan club president. So he drafts him in like legit early round 4.
That's
so
poison.
A little early clip, but I'm just saying. So
Clipboard loving a player is poison.
Yeah, that's right. So the thing about Cade Otten is he's apparently going to be the next Gronk in this offense, but he hasn't played it down yet. He hasn't played any practice because he's been recovering from an injury in the offseason. So he didn't even participate in any of the offseason.
Forget that. We're talking Mike
irrelevant, okay?
Yeah.
The thing is that Mike Evans, after Chris Godwin went down, he was scoring pretty consistently. So I believe it was week 15 against the Saints where he went down. Next week against the Jets, 14.7 points. Okay, it's fine. The next week against Carolina, almost 27 points. Next week versus Philly, almost 27 points. Next week versus the Rams, almost 26 points. He's going to smash. Like he and here's the thing. You and I, Kev, we've been pretty realistic about this Chris Godwin injury. We're saying, listen, he could be put on PUP. It could be the first 6 weeks. He could come back. Are you going to trust playing him right away? It doesn't make sense. Or is Tampa Bay going to push him out? I mean, I don't believe it, right? There are some reports now that are saying he might not be back until November because of the severity of the injury.
Did we get a rant about me talking about people drafting like I did this about the best ball when I discussed
we have,
Godwin.
yeah.
And only don't draft Chris Godwin. What are you doing? Don't draft injured players. Chris Godwin, I think on my rant, his ADP is falling. This guy was going 21st overall. And you're like, do you remember when he got hurt? They don't play. It takes a year. So people who are drafting, especially in best ball where you need everybody scoring for you every single week, or you don't make the playoffs. It doesn't matter that they come back riding the white horse. It doesn't matter. Don't draft Chris Godwin. He's not going to play in the early season. And when it's hard enough keeping your team healthy when they go into the season healthy. When you draft a bunch of hurt players, you're completely fucked. Don't do that. Just don't. Right? Take Mike Evans instead. Are we ahead of ADP here at WR8?
Mike Evans is going as WR7, so we're right there.
Yeah, we're right there. Yeah,
We're
it's
right
because I pushed Hill up. I don't mind Mike Evans above Stefan Diggs.
No, honestly, I mean, one of the things we always talk about is getting off to a strong start, right? Especially in these redraft leagues, because trade season starts usually week 4, week 5.
It's
right?
a little later. Like by the time you're actually making trades, 5, 6. Yeah, you're starting.
Okay, so but you want to start off strong, right? So you're trading from a position of power, and Mike Evans, legit, through the first 5, 6 weeks of the season, could be the wide receiver 1. And then he can continue that for most of the season. So, I mean, to me, he's right in this tier here. It's really tough. I mean, I have him, CeeDee Lamb, and Devonte Adams in a tier 2 actually together. I have Stefan Diggs up in that top tier. That's just that's how I feel about Diggies. But I think I'm gonna have to move Diggs down a little bit. And this is why I like having these conversations, because I'm kind of in my own little bubble, and it's nice to get different perspectives. We just released a draft kit on the website, dfsarmy.com. Go to the season long link, and the draft kit is there. We're going to be doing updates throughout the offseason because things change, right? I mean, it's a point in time. We released it over the weekend. 4th of July is kind of the official/unofficial start of fantasy football season. We wanted to get it out for the people. There's going to be adjustments, minor tweaks. It's like tweaking that sports car, man, until the draft kit's going to be absolutely perfect. But Mike Evans, man, could easily finish. If we're talking about somebody who can rival 25 points per game with Cooper Kupp, it's going to be Mike Evans, at least to start the season.
Yeah,
so,
early on, 100%. Yeah. Some other names like that. Remember Mike Williams start last year? Think that for Mike Evans this year. I don't know if he can keep it going for a full season in terms of like 25 plus points, but Mike Evans is a guy who will spike a 40-point game. He's playing with the GOAT. He's playing with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady got no one else to throw to. What more do you want? Mike Evans is probably, the guy on this list that has the best chance of at least equaling Cooper Kupp, or maybe even surpassing him for a decent chunk of the season or longer. Like I said, Godwin might never get back this year. He might have setbacks. He might have to be on a snap count. The knee could get sore. There are a million reasons why. And like I said, Russell Gage, he's just not that guy. He's playing a different role. He is not that guy, and they have no one else. So I love the Mike Evans play.
Last point on Mike Evans, the guy plays he plays consistently. He's only had one season in his career where he's played less than 15 games in the season. That was in 2019. And I'm pretty sure he got suspended for at least one game. I think for throwing a punch, he got ejected, and then I think got a 1-game suspension. So, I mean, he generally stays pretty healthy. Now, obviously, things can happen at any given point, but the man generally stays healthy. And we were talking about it on the running back show, but I didn't bring this up. Bill Parcells says the best ability is a player's availability. And Mike Evans is going to be available, baby.
No, we hope so. So, all right, moving on to wide receiver 9. And again, this is the Bold Call Fantasy Football podcast. This is not the Milk Toast. If you want the Milk Toast Fantasy Football podcast, go elsewhere. It's the Bold Call. That's why you're not getting standard ADPs here.
Okay, I have a really important question. What the hell is Milk Toast?
It's basically like, imagine the most plain, uninteresting, standard yeoman thing. Now, is milk toast an actual food or some sort of item? I have no idea, but it is an expression that I'm familiar with.
Got it.
Milk toast.
Love it.
All right. Like imagine toast with milk on it. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Ooh. I don't know. Ooh. I don't know where the expression comes from. But milk toast, boring bullshit.
Yeah.
It's what you get on when you're familiar with the brand. Like, I don't want to rip on brands, but like NBC is giving you a fantasy football show. You're getting the milk. All right.
Got it.
If it's like ESPN, you're not getting Bold Calls.
Yeah.
You're getting the milk toast.
Let's be bold, baby.
So that's why I love this guy here. There's a lot of upside. AJ Brown I've got as my WR9. I've jumped a few other wide receivers in ADP. here. Now, a lot of people downgraded A.J. Brown with the move from Tennessee to the Eagles. I disagree with the downgrade. And this is why I've put A.J. Brown in the spot where I had. Now, Jalen Hurts, not that good as a thrower. He really isn't. His completion percentage is terrible. Under 60, I don't even know if he had 50% completion, or he's in the low 50s last season, if I recall correctly. The reason that A.J. Brown gets the spot, though, he's got experience with Hurts, but more importantly, he's exactly the type of wide receiver that a player like Jalen Hurts needs. Hurts needs to just throw it up. He's actually got good deep ball accuracy again. He lacks the touch of an elite pocket quarterback. He lacks the ability to zip one in on an out route. But A.J. Brown is a get up and get it large monster of a man. 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". He's a giant. And he's exactly the type of wide receiver that a quarterback like Jalen Hurts can have success with, because Hurts can scramble around. As long as A.J. Brown is one-on-one somewhere, just throw it up to him, throw it in his direction. He will probably come down with the football. So the Eagles have not had anything good at wide receiver. I think Devontae Smith is a terrible match for Jalen Hurts. It's not a good pairing, although he can go deep. He lacks the ability to go up and get it the way that Jalen Hurts needs from his wide receiver. Hurts specifically said, they asked him, who do you want? We can offer trades for a bunch of these guys. And Jalen Hurts said, I want A.J. Brown here. So that's good enough for me. I like the Eagles offense as a whole. They don't really have running backs that can score touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So, Miles Sanders with 0. Full fade, Miles Sanders, no exposure, none whatsoever. So give me some A.J. Brown in this spot ahead of number 10, who most people will have a few spots higher, I think, but we'll save that for next. What do you say, Shane?
Man, I love A.J. Brown. He's probably one of my favorite players, just pure players in the NFL. He's one of the most efficient wide receivers in the league, which is actually going to be perfect for Jalen Hurts, right? He's going to be able to get the ball and get yards after the contact, or after the catch, excuse me. You talked about just being a monster of a man. So A.J. Brown, he's actually not a super tall dude. He's only 6 feet. Here's the thing. He's 226 pounds. Okay. He has a BMI of 30.6. All right. So just some relative context for the people. All right. So on average, these wide receivers, have a BMI of 25 to 27. That's, you're athletic, you're thick, you're in good shape. You're a football player, right? Debo Samuel, who is, this running back / wide receiver. This is a new mold of the NFL. He's got a 29.8 BMI. Again, A.J. Brown is 30.6. The dude is thick as hell. I mean, like, DK Metcalf is a good couple inches ahead of him, like taller than he is. But the two of the guys together, you see them with their shirts off, man. Like, they're two monsters of men. And you just see A.J. Brown, man, just glistening muscles. Needless to say, I like A.J. Brown.
A little more than you should.
A little more than I should.
Yeah.
But I think that, you talk about the type of wide receiver that Jalen Hurts needs to take a step forward in this offense. A.J. Brown's the guy. I agree with you. I think that Devonta Smith is probably going to move more into the slot, more than he did last year. That's what he's good at. He's shifty. He's good at getting open. He's good at getting separation. But A.J. Brown, man, contested catches, he can do it. He can get open. He can go deep. He's quick. He's everything that you need.
And you know what other part of the formula, the other checkbox he fills?
Yeah.
New stud receiver on a team. They want to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing. It's the opposite of kind of like logic said, well, it takes the players time to jive with the quarterback. I could see that with a new mediocre player like Christian Kirk on the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Like, But when it's a stud, when it's a known clear stud, wide receiver, diva, coming to your team, you want to feed them. You want them happy. So A.J. Brown fits that mold as well. And this next guy has a chance to fill that mold if he gets traded, because he's been asking for a trade all offseason. And my understanding is he's still asking for a trade. And that's Debo Samuel, number 10 overall. And I've got to say something here, Shane. With Debo, I'm nervous about this pick.
Yeah.
Tier drop. because Debo Samuel's going way higher. Actually, I won't end up with Debo on any team. I've got him on all my dynasty teams because I picked him up last year in every dynasty when everybody was stupidly ranking Brandon Ayuk ahead of him. That was easy money for me. Won those leagues last year. Good time. This year, though, Trey Lance at the helm. New offense. Lots of changes going on. The one great thing that and on a team that wants to run the football significantly. Last year, Debo Samuel was the picture of efficiency. It wasn't so much that he was running the football. We don't want runs from our elite wide receiver. We want them catching passes. The running play doesn't get me the fantasy. A 10-yard reception is worth 2 fantasy points. A 10-yard run is only worth 1, and they don't happen that often. I want my wide receivers catching passes, and he was not catching a lot of passes last year. But what he did do was score touchdowns on his running plays. I think that's still there because when they run it with Debo, it's almost impossible to defend it. It's a wide receiver. It's a running back there. It messes with defenses. They were not able to defend that play, and he was scoring a lot. Within the 5 yards to go, he would score from that running back position, and all those touchdowns led to incredible fantasy production from Debo Samuel. I'm a little bit worried about some regression on the touchdown side, especially considering how frequently he scored relative to how many times he carried the football in a game. He was only carrying the ball 7 or 8 times a game, but usually, averaging a touchdown per 8 or 9 carries, which is, he just was hitting a number that is unsustainable longer term. So I'm a little bit nervous about Debo, which is why I have him 2 or 3 spots below consensus. I believe on Underdog, he's currently, he's going as the WR8 on Underdog. And I've got him as my WR10, which might seem like a very small difference, but it's actually enough to the point where I probably won't end up with any Debo shares. Certainly not on Underdog and probably not in my regular league, just because somebody's going to take him while I'm taking Mike Evans or AJ Brown or somebody else ahead of him.
Yeah, man. I mean, you look at the situation and like the problem is there's so much that's different this year, right? So first and foremost, he hasn't. So I guess the official thing is he hasn't officially rescinded the trade request. He's not like pushing for it, but he hasn't officially rescinded it. I think that San Francisco is going to get a deal done with him, but the issue becomes he doesn't want to be used as a running back because he feels like it's going to shorten his career. And so I heard interesting on a show. I listened to a lot of NFL talk, and Pat Kerwin, who's on Moving to Change, NFL Network, former GM, he talked about how, what San Francisco should do is come in and say, okay, here's your contract as for a wide receiver based on your wide receiver stats. Here's a contract based off of, hybrid wide receiver / running back, and let the guy choose. The problem is he's probably going to want to be paid like one of these top wide receivers, right? $26 million a year. And that's worrisome. Obviously, Trey Lance is a completely different style of quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. You talk about those 5-yard goal line runs that were going to Debo. Those aren't going to go to Debo anymore. Maybe a few will.
They might, but some will go to Lance as well. That's where the regression might come from as well. Although, again, try to be a defense and stop that. You've got Debo going this way. You got Lance going there. You got a running back. You've got a couple of, just George Kittle, threatening. It's going to be tough to stop this in the NFL, but I don't like. Pat Kerwin said, "Let the player choose." What the hell kind of?
No, he was just kind of like saying hypothetically, right? Saying like, here's contract A is if you want to just be a wide receiver, and we won't scheme these plays. The problem is like the Shanahan offense. That's what he does, right? He's creative. That's one of the reasons he's been so successful in the NFL because he's creative. He uses players to their strengths. And yes, Debo Samuel had a pretty outstanding season. If you just look at his reception numbers, right? I mean, when you look at it last year, he had 77 receptions for 1,400 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. That's still pretty damn good. The problem is,
though, the yardage, amazing.
Yeah,
77 receptions, though. That's not WR10 reception numbers.
He only had 120 targets. That's low.
What I'm saying. It's not the 150. Again, 17 games. That's not the 150, 160 targets we're looking for out of an extreme stud at the position. He's like, oh, wait a minute. We're paying for a guy who's also going to get carries and touchdowns via the run, and lots of them in order to pay off the WR8 draft position, which again, I have him at 10. So that's why I'm downgrading him a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I have him as consensus as wide receiver 8, but I'm probably at this stage of the draft. This is where I'm looking at like Leonard Fournette at running back, or maybe, probably not, but maybe considering like if Mark Andrews falls, maybe considering Mark Andrews. I'm looking elsewhere. I don't have a lot of a Debo exposure myself. There's just so many range of outcomes. The most likely range of outcome is he does not repeat last year's performance.
There we go.
There's some risk.
I love it. Yeah. So both of us a little bit down on Debo. Still like him, but I don't know that I want to pay a massive price for him. And I guess we'll get a couple of honorable mentions for the next tier here, or some guys that didn't make my top tier. And you can give me a couple of yours, but for me, just outside of the top 10, I've got T. Higgins. And again, it's the whole Jamar Chase thing. T. Higgins had a lot of games last year with kind of mediocre production. And I can't put him in there with the elite tier. Another name is Keenan Allen. Really, really consistent, but just another year older.
He also doesn't have the touchdown upside, right? I mean, Mike Williams is going to get all those touchdowns.
Yeah, not as much with the touchdown. More of a PPR guy. Not as much of a ceiling as Keenan Allen rarely pops for a 25 plus. This is part of the reason why I'm not in love with Diggs. Just not really popping for those 30 plus and 25 point plus weeks. I don't need a million of them, but I want a few of them. I want you to win me my week single-handedly a couple times this year. Mike Evans will do that. AJ Brown will do that. These guys really probably won't. Although T. Higgins could do it, but
unlikely.
Keenan Allen's not doing it. And same argument for Jalen Waddle, just less volume this year. Loved him coming out last year. Great player, great draft capital, all of that. But competing with Tyree Kill is not ideal. So there's just he's not the alpha. I want the alpha wide receiver in the top 10. And the same, that's why T. Higgins is out of it. He's not the alpha. He's the less good wide receiver on his team for whatever that's worth. So any guys just out of your top 10, Shane, you want to mention? A couple honorable mentions?
Yeah, I mean, we've pretty much hit on all my top 10 guys. So one guy that you have a little bit lower than I do, I have him at number 13, is Michael Pittman. He's going to be playing with Matt Ryan now. And when we've seen Matt Ryan has been able to hone in and make one wide receiver extremely fantasy relevant. One of the things that Michael Pittman was very good at doing was he won in pretty much all types of schemes, whether it was zone, whether it was a man scheme. He was one of the most efficient wide receivers in the league last season at getting open. And so I think that an experienced quarterback like Matt Ryan is going to see that. There's not really a ton of other, viable pass receivers on that team. I like Michael Pittman. If he falls to me in like the late round 3, I love getting Michael Pittman there. To me, he's gonna move up boards, I think, as the draft season goes on. So keep an eye out for Michael Pittman.
I love it. All right, that's going to do it for our top 10 wide receivers for the 2022 fantasy football season. Check out in the description below. We've got our top 10 running backs. We got our top 10 quarterbacks. We got our top 10 tight ends. Now top 10 wide receivers. So all the breakdowns. Let us know if you disagree, if you agree. Hit us up in the comments section below. We always answer those comments. And of course, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you like and subscribe to the video so you get these videos as they come out. Hit the notification bell, do all those good things. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps us know you're out there. So for Shane, for myself, Bolt Call. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.